What's the worst scam you fell for when you were young and gullible? Part 2. In 2000. Got an invitation in the mail to attend a screening of a TV pilot and offer my opinion. It was held in a hotel conference room and there were probably 200 people there. When the show started, it was obvious it was filmed in the 1980s. There were actors who hadn't been in the spotlight in years. Jokes about Ronald Reagan, etc. But the MC kept talking it up like it was a brand new show. There also were a few commercial breaks. Afterward, everyone got a survey to fill out that had 1 to 2 questions about the show and 50 questions about the commercials. At least it didn't cost me any money. Department store credit cards. Get that dope discount and then never receive a statement or card until it's in collections with fees. I refused to shop at Macy's because of this. I was probably a sophomore in high school and my dad went into Quick Trip. While he was inside, this hysterical pregnant woman tapped on my window crying and saying she had no money, and I was freaked out and of course wanted to help, so I have her $20. I had felt good about it, so I told my dad when he came back to the car. But he was really angry and said to wait and watch. A few minutes later, the same lady was perfectly fine and entered Quick Trip with a man and they came out with a box of beer. A few days later on the news she was busted for doing the same scam at multiple locations with her lover. Turns out she wasn't even pregnant. Higher education will get you a better job and is totally worth going 100K in debt for. To date, the highest paid job I've gotten with my education is $15 each. My girlfriend with no high school gets paid more than me. Obligatory, not me but an old roommate of mine. He told me that he was hurting for cash and was looking for jobs on Craigslist and found a posting that seemed simple enough. All he had to do was take a mail check that was worth $3 and send it to a person and they would wire him $300 for his help. According to him, he said that the information they provided on both who was giving the check and the person receiving the check was super legit. He had a business number, phone number, and website, so that's what really sold him on it being legit. Well, he sends the check and gets his $300. Only to receive a letter in the mail from the bank 2 weeks later saying that he owed the $3,000 because the check he deposited was a fraudulent one. In 2002 I was 18 in my senior year of high school. We were pretty poor and I had basically zero chance of affording college. I had great grades and scored a 31 on the ACT, so should have gotten scholarships but fucked up all of the applications, missed deadlines and whatnot. Out of the blue one day I got a call about a grant I qualified for, to help pay for college. All they needed was my bank account and routing number and they direct deposit the funds. Wow. Lucky me. I was so blinded by my financial need and desire to go to engineering school that I gave it out without giving it a second thought. I went to share the news with my parents and was told it was a scam. I didn't want to believe them, but under some kind of threat from my dad I called back and told them to delete my bank account information. The dude was incredulous. I still remember the tone of his voice when he yelled back at me, "You don't want this grant." Anyway, I contacted the bank and they had already cleaned out my account. All $61 I had to my name. We closed the account and got me a new account number, and that was that. Lesson learned, I guess. Public school history textbooks. Student loans. Fuck student loans. I was a child and playing on RuneScape, grinding up my character. I had online friends. Several quests completed. I was waiting for my friends in a specific area outside the barbarian village when a guy came up to me and began making small talk. It got around to asking if I had a membership and I told him no, that my parents thought it was wasteful. Now, knowing I was an impressionable child, he told me that he would give me his password and let me play on his account. This was before RuneScape added that feature that didn't allow you to say your password out loud or in whispers. I was excited, because I really wanted to do member-only quests when he said that he needed insurance that I wouldn't just steal his account and ask me to trade passwords. Dumb little child me agreed. He gave me a fake password and before I could log back into my account, he had already changed the password. And #X200B. The RuneScape friends I had whose names I couldn't remember how to spell never knew what happened to me. As far as they knew, I agreed to meet them in an area, never showed up, and never logged back on. I was in high school and on a school trip. with about $10 to my name. I went with a group of other kids to Taco Bell. And while we were eating, a sleazy guy sidled up to the table, put his arm around the back of my seat, and hit on us. We rebuffed the guy somehow, but I realized a little later that he'd stolen my purse in the process. Which is why I don't hang my purse on seats anymore. I matched with a girl on Tinder when I was 18. We talked for a bit and she gave me her number. I was excited at the time, lol. She never could meet up but one day asked if I would be a +1 to a luncheon for her work. I for some reason saw no issue with this and agreed to go. I go to the address and it's some hall that can be rented out and there is a lot of people there. She says she's inside and will meet me in a few minutes but that I should mingle for a bit. So I'm talking to a guy and a girl and strangely enough they are doing the same thing that I am doing. I feel a little uneasy going into the building but I didn't have much of a choice besides just bailing. Come to find out, I'm attending a seminar for working at a multi-level marketing company. And they were very aggressive about me wanting to leave. I never met whoever I was talking to on Tinder either, lol. Enrolling at University of Phoenix. Absolutely worthless expensive credits that don't transfer anywhere. Had just taken a dump on a public toilet. Came out to wash my fingers. But had nowhere to place my Game Boy. Some man offers to hold it for me while I wash my hands and next thing you know, little idiotic 6-year-old me no longer had a Game Boy. Edit, apparently you need to wash your hands and not only your fingers. That's my bad. Columbia House CDs. You could buy 12 CDs for 1 penny. Then you agreed to purchase a certain number of CDs in the future for full price. I'm not sure what I thought, that they'd call the cops or ruin my credit forever. Or what? But I bought all my agreed upon CDs at full price. I read years later that I could have just not bought a single thing because they can't enforce contracts made by minors. I fell for the scam of best friendship. From 15 years old, I was being used as a scapegoat. Punching bag. Doormat. Sexy toy. Running joke. Cursing pillow and sanity anchor all by someone I was calling a friend. I guess I abandoned my actual friends for this friend because I was convinced they could all live without my attention. And the other couldn't. Literally kept threatening me with suicide. And it worked. I kept that lying. Gaslighting. Two-faced piece of crap in my life for 7 years. And people wonder why I have trust issues. Declining self-esteem. Moderate to severe depression. On and off anxiety and lost faith in pretty much all humanity. And no friends anymore. I stay alone so I don't get hurt again. I might find another best friend by accident. I don't even think I'm good enough for friends anymore. Sometimes I hear, "Who hurt you?" when I say something a little too dark. And all I think is, some sorry excuse for a best friend. And they had no excuse to do the shit they did. I think that was probably the worst scam. Timeshare condo at the Massanutten Resort in VA. Was a 20-something newlywed with a new house and no kids. Wife and I thought we were going to live that double income no kids lifestyle. Plus we had a new joint bank account stuffed with wedding gift checks. As the sales pitch dragged on, I felt sicker and sicker. But kept telling myself that this was ultimately going to be an asset and we would have access to a getaway whenever we wanted. My wife drove home that day while I read the fine print on the mountain of paperwork. I was in a panic by the time I got home. After a few minutes of Googling, I discovered that VA has some type of buyer's remorse law that lets you out of a timeshare with no penalty as long as you notify them in the first 5 or 7 days. I did that shit the next day and sent it certified mail with a receipt. To this day, I still have the receipt sitting in my fire safe as a reminder to not jump into things. That I could get free items if I gave them my RuneScape password. I was in my early 20s and a musician, still am for context, and a fellow musician and friend introduced me to a marketing guy who he was working with. Who I'll call Tim. The guy explained this whole package that he was putting together to promote us as artists on different platforms, separately, and because I trusted my friend. I paid Tim nearly $8,000 for this. I spent days in his office, discussing strategy, writing songs. It turned out that Tim had scammed the whole thing. Rented an office and hired a fake secretary. And just vanished with the money. He had no connections or experience in marketing or brand creation. online or otherwise. Oh no. I once bought this RuneScape tool that could turn 1 GP into any amount you wished. It actually did that visually. It would turn 1 coin into a 100 million for example. But it kept the 1 coin value to it was useless of course. Armor trimmers on RuneScape. Not me. But a friend. The scene. 2016 freshman year of college. Every girl on the internet lately seems to have struck it rich with a sugar daddy and never worried about money ever again. We are at a pizza place. And she gets an Instagram DM request. Hello sweetheart. I would love to give you an allowance of $5,000 a week. No strings attached. Let me know if you are interested. My friend grew up dirt poor and is living off of her student loans and meal plan. Of course she's interested. This will be in the form of direct deposit. Send me your routing and account number. This is easy as pie. No strings attached. She just has to sit and wait for the direct deposit. She's given Jobs her direct deposit info before. So this can't be any different. Right? Wrong. Luckily. All she was scammed out of was the $52 in her checking. Which her bank was nice enough to return after a tearful call to customer service. But she would definitely not be the last girl I knew to fall victim to this. And she was absolutely not the worst case I've seen given it was $52 and she had the forethought to turn off overdraft. Word of advice, if it seems too good to be true. It literally always is. Never. As long as you live. Give out any information about your bank. Even if it seems like direct deposit. If you really must. Give your PayPal. And if they refuse to go through that channel. You're being scammed. And most of the time. Your bank will not take pity. Thanks for watching.